right, welcome back to another episode of The Goat's Gravy, the ultimate podcast tailored for young professionals navigating the dynamic world of sales and sales leadership. Today, we've got an exciting rising star guest. She's one of the best that we've connected with so far, so we're really excited to have her here. Today, we have a very impressive rising star named Marin Rapp, a Kansas City native currently completing her junior year at the University of Kansas Rock Chalk. She combines strong leadership, discipline, and a genuine passion for personal growth, which has made her so successful up to this point. Marin began college pursuing journalism before strategically shifting to business, marketing, and sales, which is why she's with us, guys.
Yes, sir.
So Marin is a frequent listener of the Goat's Gravy. At least I know she's listened to two, maybe more.
That's frequent.
And she will now be following us moving forward, which is awesome. And I met Marin through her networking efforts through my daughter. Happened to connect on Dad's Weekend a few months ago, and her follow-up has been unreal. I've been very impressed and said, man, you got to come on the Goat's Gravy because we love what we're seeing. So, Marin, welcome.
Welcome, Marin.
Wow, thank you for having me. What an intro. That was great. I feel like I need a walk-up song with that. That was awesome.
That's a great idea, Alex. Side note, we need
walk-up songs.
It's like Enter Sandman.
Before we get going, what would be your walk-up song?
Yeah.
Enter the Sandman, 100%.
Ooh, yes.
Always.
Enter the Sandman. There you go.
I actually got asked that question at a job interview, and that I had that one ready.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, listen, we're excited to be connecting. So I think to get started first, I know you are a competitive athlete, obviously a great student, grew up in the Kansas City area. Sounds like your family mostly was at K-State, and you decided to go to the rival, KU. So walk us through maybe some early experiences, how you decided to go to KU and where you're at this moment.
For sure. Well, first off, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here and to meet Scott finally. But so a little bit of my background. I grew up in Olathe, Kansas, so I'm very close to KU. So it's a close school, but I honestly, now being older, I really like having the convenience to go back home. But I grew up, like you said, an athlete. I played lacrosse in high school, which kind of came to be from a COVID thing because I had done dance for a while, and fun fact, I actually still did dance in high school, tap, until my senior year because my 80-year-old tap teacher would not let me quit. So I go from lacrosse to tap. It was so funny. And I'll sometimes whip out the tap shoes back at school. But yeah, so lacrosse was my big thing. And I went through 3 different coaches in high school. So I got 3 completely different coaching styles and learned a lot through that. By my junior year, I was on varsity and got to play varsity my senior year. And I was also varsity captain for both those years, which was super awesome. But yeah, just built some really great.
Us, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, just built some really great friendships within that, and obviously that's where my competitive side comes from. That made this full circle back to sales. But yeah, kind of continue on from that. Graduated 2023, and then the KU decision definitely hurt my parents a little bit, but they were happy that I'd be close. But yeah, I had my grandpa and uncle play basketball at Kansas State. So they also have a lot of firm, beliefs that that's where you end up. My brother went there, my cousins, and then I'm the baby that decided to switch it up. So went to KU, and I started as journalism because in high school I actually had a program I was a part of called e-communications. And I got in this kind of into my junior year. And I knew I wanted to do something in sports. And it was just, because of that competitiveness and me being in sports, I thought that was kind of the way I wanted to go, and more so the journalism side. So I had this awesome teacher, Mr. Cooper, who still chat with him today. He's been a great mentor for me, but got into that program with him, and I'd basically have 2 hours a day where I'd be coming up with story ideas, where it'd be like outside community things or things going on in the school. So maybe I'd stay after a day and shoot a volleyball game and do some color by color commentating, or maybe I'd do more of the sideline reporting. So a lot of great opportunities with that. We also had like a news show that we'd get to anchor, run the behind the scenes for that. So had a lot of fun with that, and definitely thought that was kind of the path I wanted to be on. And with just, being an extrovert, I want to be, up and talking, and combining that with sports was really where I thought it was at, which it still can be. But when I got to college, I kind of quickly figured out journalism wasn't necessarily my thing. I kind of felt it was lacking something for me personally. Um, and I ended up talking to one of my good family friends that was in the business school, Lisa Bergeon, at the time, just like not knowing what I want to do. And now I was in my sophomore year and felt a little lost in my current major. So I talked to her and we kind of just, chatted for an hour about where I saw myself or some of my hobbies or interests or morals and just things like that. And really got an in-depth conversation. And she thought, I should be in business, and not necessarily sure what that would be, but she definitely thought that was gonna benefit me. So I ended up making that switch and still not knowing what I wanted to do, but just declared marketing as my major. And then eventually it came about the sales program, which is basically an extra add-on for business students. You can get a few extra credits, and then there's just some outside opportunities you have to take up on, but then you get a professional selling certificate. So I've had a lot of fun with that. I think the staff in there is fantastic. And the classes are very engaging and very interesting. So I've had a lot of fun with that so far. And kind of quickly realized that that was something I wanted to do post-grad, something I wanted to pursue. And then more recently, that interest has kind of turned into the medical area. So medical device, technology, all those kind of sales, which is kind of where I connected with Billy, obviously. But yeah, that's kind of a background on where I got today. There's obviously a lot of points missed in there that get into more detail, but it's kind of where we're at now.
It's a great flyby. There's a couple things you said that stood out to me, Scotty. I think number one, you made a comment about constant change of coaches, right? Playing sport. And a lot of people take that as a negative. I don't know how successful your team was, but you have a lot of coaches that kind of gets annoying. You don't get that consistency, no continuity. But the way you described it was it was a great opportunity for you to learn different leaders, maybe different things. So you had a good experience through that. So I think you looked at it through a different lens, which I love. I think that's just probably a natural attribute that you have, positivity, but that was really good. You also talked about reaching out to a close family friend. And we often talk about the importance of tapping into any network you have, your parents' network, friends of yours, parents' networks, whatever that looks like, and having the courage to go out and have those conversations. And I love that, you took advantage of that, got some great mentorship. So if we can get into that for a moment, was that kind of the first time you really tapped into their network to get some feedback when you felt lost, or is this something you were consistently doing along the way?
Yeah, I honestly think it took until, I guess it took probably till that sophomore year when I kind of was like, oh crap, I want to figure out what I want to do. And I realized that the business world, that's networking, that's making connections, that's how you're going to figure it out. So that was kind of the first big one, but then it came down to like little things. Like I remember my sophomore year, I had medical, or actually this might have been my freshman year. I met a close friend right away, and she invited me when we came back to Kansas City for Thanksgiving break. Her dad was having like a stock the bar party in his basement. So she invited some of her girlfriends to come, and he had all, his friends around. So I get there, and kind of me, her, and her friend group are hanging out like in her room. But then I'm looking outside, and there's all these adults, and they look like they're pretty well off. So I kind of, I made my way out of that room, and then I started networking with, not networking, but just fun conversations. And then I got compliments from some of those people about, wow, that's really impressive that you're out here. I know that like that kind of takes a lot, especially you're a freshman in college. So I actually made a connection there that I still chat with him today from St. Louis. But just little things like that. That's so awesome. And I have some great friends with great parents, and it's even just like talking, you're going to hang out with the friend or whatever, but having a little chat with the parents before you go to the basement or go upstairs, wherever you're going to go, I feel like always carries you a long ways. But I definitely say that was more of like something that I started realizing in college, when I did start realizing how crucial connections and networking were just to be successful in life, for sure.
And something that stood out to me. So we met at, it might have been Bullwinkle's. You weren't working that night, but I spent a lot of money in that place. I'm wearing my KU hat, supporting my daughter. But Callie introduced us, and she just said, "This is one of my closest friends. You'll love her. She's, wants to get into the world of sales, thinking about medical." And so we had a quick chat. I had an email the next day before I flew out, or I'm sorry, a text, right?
Yeah.
And then we connected that very next week. We had a couple conversations.
Mhm.
One of our good friends, who's the CEO of a medical company, George Shanine's been on the podcast. I told her a little bit about, his organization, made a connection, and she followed up, kept me in the loop with some conversations. And within like 2 weeks, she had an internship offer by those guys. And she has multiple opportunities right now she's exploring going next summer because she does that. She practices what we preach, which is, quick, thorough follow-up, keeping people aligned with what you're doing, which is awesome, an awesome skill for you to have. So I love that.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
Maren, so you mentioned something that Billy and I deal with all the time. Our kids are around, their friends come in. A lot of them just go to the basement, stay in the basement. They're TikToking, their heads
The
down.
classic.
It's actually depressing.
They come in with the backpack.
Yeah, what's in the backpack? I'm sure.
I'm
it's
Mr.
books.
Atwater.
Yeah, I don't even get that. I get right
sometimes,
to the
but that's
basement.
pretty on point. Yeah.
But I think that you bring up a really interesting point here, that you exiting the whatever room you were in to hang out with these adults. I just wonder to myself why more folks don't do that, right? So what really compelled you to actually take that step when maybe your other friends weren't doing it? And really, what advice would you give our listeners, our viewers, on maybe how uncomfortable it was to make that step, or why you did make that step to start kind of the networking?
Yeah, great question. I feel like a lot that contributes to this is just the world we're kind of in right now. It's very easy to bury yourself in your phone, and we're connecting with people now over text instead of face to face. And I'm a big, if I need to, have a conversation with my parents or even ask them a quick question, normally I'm one to like pick up the phone. And I feel like even just doing little things like that, like even if it's uncomfortable, forcing yourself to be in those situations to get uncomfortable, because eventually it's going to become routine. It's going to become easy, but it's not going to be easy at first. But if you get used to putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions, life is going to get a lot easier and kind of work out in your favor. But I feel like there was never a big, like, this is what I need to do to be able, or like, I think it was just more so getting to know myself, because I got to know myself. And this is a lot like what I'll preach is like getting to know yourself and who you are makes you just more confident to be able to go up to those people. But that's about, like, I feel like that's where my perspective is. I've also just had parents that have raised me that way, which has been really great. My dad is great in this. He's in sales too, which kind of explains everything. But he's great in those situations of going up to strangers or just having like a fluid conversation. But yeah, I feel like that kind of answer the question. I feel like there's not a big
it absolutely does. And the perspective for people listening to this podcast is folks like your dad, your parents, Billy, yourself, myself. We want to engage. Like, we're kind of bored with our adult friends. I don't know about you, Billy. We want to engage we want to give back, right? So at a certain point in our careers, yes, it's important to make the next number and this and that, but you flip a switch. I don't know, Billy, if it's age 45 to 50, but just know, if you're listening to this, that taking that extra step and asking that question. And by the way, it's as simple as saying, hello, let's just start there. How you doing, Mr. Shaw? Thank you for having us over. What are you guys up to? It's like the art of sales, in my opinion, is the art of asking good questions and being curious. It's really that simple. So you yourself, getting to know yourself, I really like that comment as a foundation. But as you're looking to network, it's as simple as asking a couple basic questions. Billy tends to ask too many questions, but you really just got to get comfortable. My wife, Christy, is way better than I am at asking really good.
At most everything.
Yeah, pretty much. But
and that's also listening to the conversations that you can, bounce off of something they said and being engaging.
Yeah. And then your follow-up to Billy, I thought was brilliant, right? And even if it is text, but it's, to your point, Maren, about listening. Hey, love talking about this. Would love to extend it and do that. And, keeping that going. And it takes work. right?
Yeah.
But I think step one is exiting that room that you were in, and that first step. People sounded like they were drinking too, right? Stock the bar. You got it
Yeah.
pretty
It was
loose.
it was an opportunity that was right in front of me. I just had to grab it. So
Exactly.
Well, that's it. But you
yeah.
also made a really insightful comment around, basically being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And we talk about that all the time. And it really is. And I was just saying on a previous podcast, like my thing going into next year is courage over comfort, right? You got to keep yourself just on that line of being uncomfortable, because if you have the courage, to do things. And by the way, what gives you the confidence to have that courage is what you talked about, that the habits that you're starting to create. We'll get into that. I know you're a big fan of Atomic Habits, that book.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. But I mean, it becomes routine, right? And you said the more you're doing it, the less scary it is. It's just natural, right? And so
Exactly.
now it's just being disciplined to doing that and following that. So I think that's outstanding to have that at your age as you're just starting your career. And that's easy for anybody listening to adopt and just put yourself out there. Just have some conversations and get comfortable doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Now, as you're looking, we won't mention any names on internships, though. But it's interesting, Billy, your background, wanting to get into sports, wanting to get into broadcasting. I went down that road myself because I did some level of athletics, believe it or not. But I want to work for the Chicago Bulls. I interviewed with them, Chicago Bears. I just loved and had a passion for sports. I was a mascot, picked up hot dogs at the end of the
Man, he
games.
did say that. He was a mascot.
Yes.
Oh my
That's what
gosh.
it is.
Yes, I was a mascot. I dressed up
Hey,
there
when
and
there's a will, there's a way.
I'd have a sumo outfit on and I'd run the bases and I'd get tackled by the main mascot. I was a third mascot in, and then all the kids would make fun of me because I was on the ground.
Oh my
But
gosh.
Carter's got interest. Like he's doing some games. So Billy's son, like Brennan, like they all. But the transition from that, what was the aha moment? Maybe you don't have it yet, but I'd be curious to move from journalism and sports to actual sales. What was the what
Mm-hmm.
what gravitated you to that, and what's cementing you in that moving forward?
Yeah. It's kind of like everything meshed together in this way because in high school, obviously, loved the econ program, loved being in front of the camera, behind the camera, doing the editing, all that stuff. And I found it as like a great hobby for me. And I got to college, and I think as I enjoyed some of the classes, I felt like I didn't have this big drive, and it didn't. Obviously, in college, it's really hard to get out of bed in the first place, but there wasn't something that was like really getting me to class, and like, which this sounds stupid because I mean it's college, and most people don't go to class, but I was struggling to find something that was like motivating me to keep going with this, and like I didn't feel like networking in some of those careers just because I don't think I felt super passionate about it, and it's just something was missing, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. And then after kind of switching things up and like going to the business school, the thing about sales is, and I even talked to my dad about this the other day, is like he was talking about his team at his job and how a lot of people are college athletes. And I was like, that's funny. I was like, he's like, well, do you know why? And again, the competition aspect. So I kind of realized that's what I was missing. I was in all these things in high school that were super competitive. And that's what, motivated me in high school. Lacrosse was a big one, just getting to go in. I loved the nerves before that. And I love how now still, sometimes with certain things in the sales program or even these interviews I have or these networking opportunities, I get kind of the same nerves I got before a lacrosse game.
Yeah.
So that really excited me, and I knew that was a big draw for me. And now that I'm there, it's now combining it with healthcare. I think in high school, another thing I was super passionate about was science classes. I just didn't think I wanted to go full throttle with that in college. I know it takes a lot, and I always knew I kind of was more of the business side. So I didn't go into nursing, pre-med, anything like that. But then kind of combining these two interests, it's like if I can sell something that I'm really passionate about, I mean, that's the key to it. So I think that's what kind of all those came in together, intersected, and still having the competitiveness of sports, but now this deeper foundation and passion behind what I might be selling in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so you've already done a sales internship. So will you walk us through that experience? What were some maybe key takeaways from that first experience?
Yeah. So I actually my first internship was a marketing internship, and I'll talk about my internship currently, which is more sales based. But the marketing one was with a small kind of advertising firm in Kansas City, but they're more so like, they sell a software. So they're called Lucky Orange. It's basically, they can sell to, it was a lot like e-commerce and like SaaS brands that they'd sell to. And then they'd take their data basically and kind of tell you exactly where customers are struggling on the website. They do like heat maps and different funnel techniques to filter out your viewers and customers. So that was a lot of fun. I loved that. And I think something that kind of ties back to sales with that is I was able to do a few case studies just with current customers and talk through with them how our brand or how our website software was helping them succeed. So it was really cool. It was like kind of the follow up of sales basically, because we were talking about what was going well, what maybe wasn't. I got to talk to a lady with her country club out in California. I talked to a more medical based prescription brand. So there are a few different fun experiences through that. And I loved the tight knit community of just a small startup. I always say it was kind of like startup Microsoft. Like they had Nerf gun wars. We had like a Papa Shot in the office and all those fun things. But I had a great time there. And that was summer after my freshman year. And then now currently I'm working a remote job for SCA Promotions. So you can basically think, I like to describe it as whenever, you're at a basketball game and they have like the half court shot and a contestant comes down and they get the big check sometimes. SCA is more of the risk management behind that, but then also the marketing side of that. So I'm emailing different brands to get them to have their name on that. So I work with our partnership with Fanatics, and they do a lot of like the e-codes and different QR codes to get more reach on that. So that's been really fun. It's more email cold call kind of marketing, and then just weekly meetings with the sales team. But it's been great just to get my foot in the door. And that was also from a friend of mine at KU, her dad. So again, the connections, I'm telling you, don't sleep on your friend's parents. They are definitely the place to go when you're trying to get your foot in the door. But yeah, so both of those have been great. Definitely just good to have that experience and build my resume for sure.
And do they give you a script? Are they like, what type of development are you getting from that? Or is it more of you they kind of, hey, this is what we're going to have you do. And you go connect with different salespeople they have and kind of just do discovery on your own, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a lot of Winmo. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I get a lot of contacts from there. And with the emails, I have a script. So it depends what thing we're going for on that. Sometimes it's sweepstakes. Sometimes it's those e-codes or QR codes. So there's different email templates for those. And then I'll also have one of my mentors that I work under. He makes kind of like the embedded PDFs that kind of give like more of a graphic feel of what it could look like. I know we've been sending one out that's like our collab with Jersey Mike's, and it kind of gives what we did for them so that they can see an example of that. And it can be frustrating because I will admit I've probably only gotten 2 replies and kind of 2 of the balls rolling, but it's good because that's sales. It's difficult, but it's definitely that repetitiveness. But they're great at helping me out. And then if there is like follow up with one of the clients, they normally keep me updated in the loop with that. And they both of my mentors there have been also great for just me, getting out there, and they're constantly checking up on me too of what I'm doing next summer, or if I need any help finding anything else. So
Nice.
yeah.
What about because I think the athletic background, and it doesn't necessarily need to be athletics. It could be, you're in a band, you're in theater. It's just you got a passion. You're working towards a goal. But I think in our business, it's your ability to be coached and your openness to being coached is going to be that piece that makes you better. So as you went through this internship, what's the one piece of coaching advice you got that stuck?
Yeah. I'm trying to think with
Maybe
this
you're
one.
not that coachable, Marin. That's also a possibility.
I definitely am coachable.
Yeah,
I hope I am. I
Teasing.
hope I am.
But did someone say something to you where it was an aha moment? It could be cold calling. It could be anywhere in the sales process that you're like, man,
Yeah.
That I didn't really understand before.
I think I literally have this written down, but I had one of my mentors tell me, I need to know exactly what he said because I literally wrote this down. But he said, the quicker the validated no, the quicker to a validated yes.
Ooh, that's really good.
So, yeah, so he was saying that, you know, someone might say no right off the bat, but in his sense, that's it gives him an opportunity because I think it's also just a confidence thing. He thinks he can get in there and woo him, which is great. But it's kind of I don't know. I think the rejection sometimes fuels you. I mean, it's gonna hurt sometimes, and sometimes there's a point where you walk away. But I think
Mm-hmm.
there's also some strategy in that to just make that compel you even more to go back out there. And maybe it doesn't mean necessarily that person, but the next person, because you learn from those no's. You can take so much away from that. I'm big on reflection, especially. I'm happy you guys caught me at the end of the year. I feel like that's a perfect time to reflect in multiple aspects and areas of your life. But sometimes those no's, you take away maybe what went wrong, but what you really want to focus on. And then the next time, the yes is even quicker.
Yeah, I like that.
You can learn so much from your failures, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got this concept, get to the know, but it's the KNOW, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really an art of asking questions to really understand your customers or your prospect's position,
Mm-hmm.
and just doing a little bit more of that next time. But yeah, I love your attitude where you're going to get a lot of no's. My daughter's looking at some internships, and she came back to me and she said, Dad, I'm really frustrated. Like, these people won't get back to me. I go, okay. And you want to do sales and you're frustrated because they won't get back to you? Like, all right, well, maybe we should pivot and find a different, but I said that sarcastically, but having the thick skin, right, to handle rejection. And I think that is direct correlation, Billy, back to that athletic background. I mean, how many times you get knocked down, you got to get back up. I mean, roll tide. But sorry, that was sorry.
Hey, all
about that.
good. All
But
good.
yeah, your coachability, and I really like what you said there. It's qualifying in or out quickly, whether you're in enterprise software sales, which is what I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
medical device. I mean, Billy, how do you teach that? I mean, are there any techniques that you've used or any threads that you pull on with that?
I think I always bring it back to it all starts with your belief system. So you got to start by believing in yourself, right? The experiences you've had, the skills, the attributes you're bringing to the table. And then, you said this early on too, you got to be passionate about what you're representing. So you got to believe in the product or the service that you're representing and the team you're working with. And if you have that belief, and then you layer in your healthy habits, right? Your discipline to following your process. I think you become numb to the nose. I mean, there's always adversity. We fought through that, and we'll get into that here in a minute. I know you've been through some serious personal adversity, as I did at your age, or I was in your age, going through a lot. But I will tell you that part, I think, helps you stay confident, because at the end of the day, we're all competitive. You want to win every single moment. You want to win every single deal. I always tell the team, we have to treat every meeting as if it's the most important meeting we're ever going to have. And if you do that, even for a little meeting, most of us just show up and wing it. Like, you get confident. You've been doing it for 20 years. You know what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you don't take the time to prep, right? Just taking that extra time, preparing, showing up well, it's going to improve your success, period. But you're not going to win them all. And as long as you know that, that's okay. But embrace the ones you do win. And when you fail, you learn from it, what we could do different or better. And by the way, most of the time when you lose out on something, it doesn't mean it's dead forever, right? You just got to go resurrect it down the road. So now that's my advice, is you just got to persevere. That is sales. It's the ability to kind of power through and wake up every day with that same level of energy and passion and drive to go figure it out. And that's why I think so many athletes do well in this industry.
I agree. I guess one thing I was going to ask too was, I asked my dad's question the other day, and I've been asked this question, but I think it's so interesting whenever I ask someone in sales this, because there's a lot of different answers. But you have these high highs and these super low lows. So when you hit the low, the lowest of the lows, what do you do to kind of bounce back, or what's like the first thing you have to do? Because I know, especially when you are pretty like confident and like you've been through those, but I feel like there's always some type of, maybe not secret sauce, but just something to do to like bring yourself back up or even just blow off some steam? Do you guys have a certain ritual with that at all?
Yeah, I'll chip in here a little bit. I think a lot of the basics of like clean mind, however you define your, how you're going to be spiritual. You don't have to be religious necessarily, but grounding in that, I think, is important. Whatever is important to you personally outside of work. So when you have a loss in a rough quarter and you don't make the number and you're feeling down on yourself, I think going back to getting your personal kind of hygiene set, I think is important. Friends, the way you eat, the way you exercise, faith, however you're going to kind of put that on paper and say, this is for me, right? So you're constantly going back to that foundation, right? And then, the kind of the next step for me is once I'm set there, you go back to your kind of plan with work, right? And you should always have some semblance of a plan in your current state. And then we talked on the prior podcast of this concept of planning and organization and kind of metrics that are important to you. So first, personal, get yourself set. And then secondly, you're going back to whatever plan, work on the business. This is the concept versus in the business. And I think when you have a lot of losses, you tend to stay mired in the business stuff. And that could be, you're just too deep in your own head and you're trying to elevate that again, personally, what's going to put you in the best state of mind. And then going back, I don't know too many people. I think you'll be in a minority, Marin, if you actually have a business plan about your internship right now. I don't think most kids do. Right. And by the way, we don't either. Like Billy and I were laughing. We're great at telling people exactly what to do and giving this amazing advice. But
define amazing. It depends on who you're talking to.
Because I'm kind of making fun of myself too. Oftentimes we're not doing it ourselves. Right. So continuing to go back to that plan. But that's my 2 cents. I don't know about
for
you.
sure.
I agree absolutely with that. I think for me personally, I know when I go through those moments, number one, it's faith. That's carried me through a lot of my adversities in my life. It's important to me. But that gives me my kind of headspace reset. I'm a guy that every morning, if I'm reading my devotionals and I'm doing the things that kind of pick me up, I show up different as a leader. So that's number one. Number two is what you're talking about, having I'd say there's 3 buckets actually, but having an action plan. So, if you have a huge miss, or you're going through some adversities or some things aren't going well, and you got pressure and you're trying to figure it out, I think you have to take a step back. You get too close to it. And this is where you network, you talk to some peers. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? This is what I'm feeling like. What am I missing? Get some counsel, get some wise counsel, lean into some people. And I love to go to people outside of my industry, my business. I'll talk to current people I work with and get their take, but then I'll go to someone like Scott, grab a coffee, and hey, I'm dealing with the situation. This is what it looks like. Sometimes getting a totally different perspective really helps. But that third piece is so important, and that is having a plan. And here's my plan of how I'm going to fix it with some actions to support that fix. Because now you're giving yourself a playbook, or you're giving yourself a chance to go, build some energy around. I'm going to go execute these 2 or 3 things, and I'm going to do these really well. And that's going to help me rise above this adversity that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love both those answers. That's great.
Did you like my answer better?
I don't pick favorites.
He's a high affirmation personality, but that's a great answer, man. You should. How about for you? Have you figured that out for yourself yet? Or is there anything you've had to deal with that you fought through that? I know on the personal side. But
Yeah.
On the personal side?
I don't know if I totally have figured it out. I think I think that's okay right now, but I think it kind of, depending on what the situation is, there's definitely different ways, but I'm big on my habits, my routine, keeping, my faith in my life and other things structured the way I like them, because when I'm in that routine and when I'm doing the things I love, I feel a lot more firm in that foundation to go through those failures or those hard points. But yeah, I definitely love to hear advice on how other people deal with that, because it can be difficult, and especially in this
What was
career.
Your dad's opinion? Sorry.
So he had his first thing was, he's a cyclist. So he goes, I was like, so what happens? He works for Workday. So he's in software sales, and he'll work with a college and account for year plus. And he's taking, their whoever it is to lunch, and building these connections with the whole student body and different people across the board. But he said he'll get on his bike. So he's a cyclist. He says and he works from home, so he's like, I just take some time, I get on my bike and I just ride. And then he comes back and he I think that was just his first thing. But I think he has a few different strategies just to structure himself. And again, kind of what you guys said, just maintaining those things that do make him happy and do fuel his body, make him feel good. And obviously, like, kind of cycling falls into that. But yeah, that was kind of his point. I had another person, I asked that question. He said he writes up a really mean email to what he'd send that client, and then he never sends it. So there's a lot of different takes
That's
at
good.
that. But I love what you guys said.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
the goal piece is really important. No matter if you're in high school, college, internship, first sales gig, experienced leader. I'm in the middle of a search right now for a leader in healthcare. So I
Mm-hmm.
work for a software company, and just talking to these different people and what they want to do, it's interesting. This one gentleman I was talking to was really clear with me about what his goals were. And he was differentiated through all the searches. I've been talked to probably 30 people in the last couple of weeks. He was really diligent on, this is what I'm doing now. This is what I viewed my next step to be. And ultimately, he wanted to become a CRO, Chief Revenue Officer of a software company. I'm like, man, that is differentiating to me. He has a plan. He's able to articulate it. And by the way, Marin, look at how your plans have changed in a very short period of time, from your journey as a journalism and wanting to do sports to now sales. By the way, that could change, right? And
Yeah.
it could be, you could mix the two. But my advice to people out there is, write your goals down. Sounds super simple, sounds cliche. I don't care. Guess what? 90% of people are not doing it.
Yeah.
Still, we've been told this, Billy, from the beginning of time, right? So if you could do that, and then to Billy's point about you're stuck in a rut, you're going to your mentors outside of the company, totally agree. But continue to refine and share those goals about, are you on the right track with your goal setting? And every
Yeah.
quarter, we just talked to Brady on another podcast recently. It's like writing those down on a quarterly basis to help reset yourself and make sure that you're on the right path. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, Marin, you're saying, all right, I want to be sales. Have you put any thought into, whether it's a connection with your mentor, your dad, or whomever, what that end goal would be in 10 years? Have you put any thought into that? And if you haven't, that's okay.
I don't know if I totally have. And I mean, that's definitely and I love the reflection part and, like, looking back at what you've done, but then also, the reactive part, like, what are you going to do going forward? I think that also kind of leans into atomic habits, like you were talking about. But I don't have this big end goal yet. And I definitely want to work my way up in a company. I don't really know what that looks like yet. But I definitely think my biggest thing, and like I said, is the end of the year. I love that reflection part. I love looking back and, recognizing the highs and the lows, and maybe what I gained and what I just listened to a podcast actually, and she was talking about 6 questions to ask yourself at the end of the year. And the last 3 were, what are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? And what are you going to continue doing? So I was actually thinking about those yesterday. I was on a walk listening to this podcast. And I feel like that is your big thing too, and you talked about those quarterly, going back and, reassessing what was going right, what was going wrong. And even just for personal things too, as me as a college student, I think that's huge to look at it both professionally and personally. Like, what are some certain things maybe I liked that I did this year, maybe some things that I want to work on. And I think as I build those up, I think that's going to help me get to that end goal, whatever it is. And again, like you said, it might be changing, but I think the reflection is what carries you through that and what will eventually meet you to that end point.
Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah.
unpack the atomic habits for
Yeah,
a
let's
second?
get into
Let's
that
do
for a
it.
second, and then we'll kind of close out with maybe some advice you give back to your peer group or others,
Yeah.
or anything else you want to ask us. But yeah, we talked a little bit about you recently read that book and have been adopting kind of that theory, those theories. So walk us through some examples.
Yeah. So I think my biggest one, I remember they talk about it's like the marginal, the marginal gain. So they talked about the British cyclers. I think that's my favorite story. It's just about how the British cyclers, no British cycler had won a Tour de France in 110 years. So they went back, they hired this guy, I'm blanking on his name. I have it, Dave Braceford, and he went in and reassessed the littlest things. Like they went even as far as looking at the wall in their van, and they turned it to white. They painted the wall white so they could see like sparks of dust or anything going on that would make the cyclist sick. So they took it a whole extra level and went super in depth of to, if we go in and, fix all these micro habits, in the end, if we get 1% better in all these little different sectors, that'll improve us immensely. And then they went on to win multiple titles, multiple gold medals, kind of really just restructured the whole team, which I think that's kind of what the book opens with. And then they go more into the 4 laws behind how to build good habits. I think it's make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying, and make it obvious.
Yes.
So I kind of have been taking that with all those different lessons and how I'm structuring my day to day, but then also kind of how I just structure my life in a way. And I think a big thing for me was that kind of like I read this book, and then it was right when I ran a marathon this past year, and I think it was right when I started my training, because I was in this rut. I had just sprained my ankle. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this training. And I was a little nervous because I had committed to it. It was a big commitment for me. I read this book, and then it was just about the small things. I know one thing was like, for make it obvious, setting your running clothes out before you go to run in the next morning, like little things like that, or just little cues to keep it's your brain psychology to keep you in the routine and in these daily habits and forming those structures to make you successful. So I've definitely applied that in basically every aspect of my life. And it helps immensely, and it definitely comes and goes, but not comes and goes, but there'll be times when I'm a little inconsistent, which is normal and happens. But when I am in those routines and building those habits is when I do feel my best. I think that kind of goes back to our last thing, just about, when you do fall low and fall into those deep points, I think having a structure like this is what's really going to carry you through.
And by the way, congratulations on completing the marathon.
Thank you.
Continue to train. She had a friend whose mom passed from pancreatic. Was it pancreatic cancer? Right?
Yeah, pancreatic. Mm-hmm.
We went through that with the family here. It was really difficult. So amazing that you saw that through. She did a great job. Everyone went out and watched her. She also lost a friend recently at school, so she's had a lot on her plate. And I think having the foundation of faith obviously helped you get through that. But you're also someone that just proactively has a focus on something. And I think when you have that goal. And Atomic Habits, to me, it's the whole point is it's less about having a goal. If you don't have healthy habits, to reach those goals, you can have a big audacious goal, but the odds of hitting it are pretty low if you don't have an action plan. You don't have healthy habits and helping you go hit those things. And that's exactly what you've started to apply in your life in multiple facets. You got multiple internship offers right now. You're thinking through. I know we're going to spend some time talking about that soon. But you're doing everything right. And I love what I've only known you a short time, but your follow-up, our conversations, the questions you ask, you're a natural, and there's no doubt uber successful. So today we're talking to you as a rising star. I have a feeling we'll be talking to you 2 years, 3 years down the road as a GOAT.
Oh, shucks.
But you are on your way.
See, I'm not as bullish on you as he is.
He's just mad you're going medical instead of tech. But
I'll get a hold of her. Don't you worry about it.
That's right. But
that's hilarious.
Any parting words, any advice you'd have, for your peers or even people just getting started in college? You're a junior, getting ready to go into your senior year. But how about anyone else out there just getting started?
Yeah. I think some of my biggest things, and these kind of go with networking, I'd say. But I've 2 like big ones and then kind of a little side one. But I think the biggest 2 are get to know yourself. And then if you are talking to a company or someone, get to know them. So get to know yourself as in do things that make you happy. I remember someone told me this the other day, but I was actually at a med device place downtown, and they brought in a guest speaker who's been in sales for think he was 65. So he opened his own insurance business, and he had some great advice, but the first thing he asked us was, he goes, who enjoys working here? And I felt awkward because I'm like the only one that doesn't work there. So I was like, I'll drink the Kool-Aid. But no, he had a great perspective about, if you're here and you're not doing what you love, go find something else. Life is far too short to waste your time in those areas that just don't bring you joy. And I know there's going to be points where, it's not going to be as exciting or fun, but at the end of the day, like, are you going to bed like fulfilled with what you're doing? So a big thing for me was getting to know yourself to be able to find those opportunities. And that can come in all different forms. I know we talked like spirituality, but then also daily habits, hobbies. What are you doing to make yourself happy, and getting to know yourself, even as far as like, go like, especially with people my age, I always recommend, I'm like, go out for coffee on your own, go take yourself to dinner, go do things on your own, and really start to get to know yourself, like date yourself, because you will find out so much. And then kind of on the other side of that, it goes both ways. So if you're going to talk to someone or maybe interview with a certain company, really dive in and get to know them. Just having a background with that, you're going to go in so much more prepared and stand out next to the other candidates. And that can go for both people and companies. But then also, let's say you do get an internship or something down the line, doing the research before you even enter that internship. I think that's huge. I remember with Lucky Orange, I went in and I was like, what is an e-commerce brand? Like, no idea what any of that meant, which is fine. I went there and I learned it. But if I would have been one step ahead before I got there, I could have, skipped that step, the 2 weeks of just learning, which obviously there's going to be some learning, but getting a little ahead of that. And then immediately people notice you're excelling because of that previous research and all that.
Yeah.
And then my little one that's basically like, just kind of like something I do is whenever I network, which I don't remember if I asked you this, Billy, but typically at the end of a conversation, this is my way to get back in. I'll ask them what's something you're looking forward to, whether it's in your professional life or your personal life, in the next 3 to 6 months. And then I'll have that person down. I have my networking little Excel sheet, and I'll kind of type up what they're excited for. And then when the time comes and I need to connect again, I'll roll back around and say, hey, I'd love to catch up on this project you were about to work on. I remember you mentioning this. And then I'll be like, can we hop on a quick phone call sometime this week? And it's a great leverage into restarting those conversations. Because I know, especially people where I've discovered, like in this med device area, and especially the people still going through their training programs, they're super busy. So, which is fine, but I want to get in there and I want to start to get to know those people and make those connections. So I'll make sure to find something that they're really interested in and circle back around just to have that easy connection. So that's one that I always like to say. And I actually learned that from someone I connected with in my network. So yeah, awesome. I'd say that's my big one.
I think, Billy, just listening and just recapping this, I think my takeaway just listening to you, and I like to kid around with Billy and make fun of him because there's a lot to make fun of. Right?
He's a lot older than I am, man. He's a lot older. It's like an older brother. I take it.
What I like what I'm hearing here is, I think if you work on yourself, you're going to show up to any situation. Just you're going to show up better. Mm-hmm. So if you're working on yourself, getting to know yourself, the dating yourself. Billy's been dating himself for years. Still no connection. Still trying to find it there. But finding myself. I think it's like, if you were to look at this video, and we're going to post this, right? And our listeners and viewers are looking at kind of your mental state of mind, Maren. I think they see someone that's confident. I think they see someone that's got a good attitude. I think they're seeing someone that's not making excuses, that's looking to learn and looking to grow and looking to network. You're smiling. I mean, Billy, the amount of people that we deal with, because, Maren's working on herself, she's going to show up in a good state of mind with a good positive attitude. Yeah. So that's my one, quick takeaway there. But from a coaching standpoint, I think, the way you talked about these interviews, and a lot of our listeners are going through internships or their first or second job, but the basics matter. Like, how much work does it take to do the research on that person beforehand? And I'm trying to mentor some of the folks that I'm working with. It's like, how about linking in before a conversation? Like, everyone's on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Boom. Before the meeting. Hey, looking forward, like literally an hour before. I know we got our meeting coming up in an hour. Super pumped. Good. Have the meeting. Post same day. Don't wait. Like the amount of people that wait for like a couple days on the follow-up, I just don't get it. It's like it's on the top of your head. Hey, thanks for the time. I noticed you went to your notes there a couple times, Maren. But hey, here are a couple things I took away from the meeting, and you're setting next steps, right? Sales is all about prep and follow-up. I don't care. Like you can miss a whole lot of things, but if you do those two things right and take the best version of yourself, the smile, the bright eyes, the energy, you are golden. And you should not do med device. You should do enterprise software.
And with that said,
let's transition to me now.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you.
I'm learning a couple things about you that I'm going to take away from this. Those are a couple.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you.
I echo what Scott says. I think you're wise beyond your years. Just the level of maturity is so impressive. I would say there's three things. He said two. It's for sure preparation and follow-up, but it's actually preparation, execution, and follow-up. And you're going to execute at a very high level with the proper preparation, right? And that's what I've seen you do firsthand so far. So if you keep that up, the habits you're already starting to develop, there's no stopping you. You'll be uber successful. It doesn't matter if you're in tech sales, if you're in medical device, you're going to be phenomenal.
Tech.
You're going to be awesome. Yeah, we'll both talk to you together on pros and cons of both, but you're going to figure it out. So just keep doing what you're doing. You're definitely someone we're going to want to talk to in our future, but very impressed. Thank you so much for taking the time to come spend
Thank you guys.
with us on a Sunday and tell your, maybe we could have your dad on at some point. So let's make that connection. We'd love to
he'd
talk
love
as
it.
well. He's done a great job, and I'm sure your mom both, they've done a good job influencing.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I call you Maren, the queen of rap? Do you take offense to that?
I don't take offense at all.
The queen of rap.
Yeah,
I like that.
I love it.
Because the rap's got a connection.
I feel like, there's a lot to do with the rap. Yeah. I like it.
That's good.
I like it.
So nice to meet you. So nice to hang with you.
It's so nice to meet you. Yeah, this is great.
And thanks for teaching us a couple things too.
Sure.
It's been a pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of The Goat's Gravy. We've shared some awesome insights and strategies aimed at enhancing your journey in sales. And the conversation does not have to stop here. So be sure to follow us on social media at The Goat's Gravy and explore more at thegoatsgravy.com. Your journey towards sales mastery is ongoing, and we're here to support you at every step. So thank you for tuning in today. Stay curious, stay driven, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.